I'd like you to take your Bibles, please. Those of you who are visiting may not be in our class from time to time. We're in Book of Numbers, and if you open your Bibles to Numbers, the 22nd chapter, the next 4 chapters are dealing with Balaam, a prophet, kind of strange indeed, exactly how he comes on the scene, but he was recognized as a prophet of Jehovah, the Lord, to have some of your translations. And the surrounding nations around him knew that. And there's Balak. Remember, Moab has been conquered already, but they have a king. Ammonites had already conquered them at this particular time, and Amorites have, and you have, here's a king, and he is fearful of this Israel, and he gets a hold of the elders of Midian. All of a sudden, it's not just the elders of Moab, but as this chapter opens, the elders of Midian. In our Bibles, Midian will be kind of nomads. They'll be traveling through the regions, and they were kind of like the Ishmaelites. And they are involved in when Joseph goes into captivity. You got the idea of the Ishmaelites and Midianites almost the same, because that's who the brothers sold Joseph to. And they're on the scene here, and before Numbers ends, they will be completely annihilated. And they were of Moses too. But they were a tribal group, and they would go from place to place. And as as Balak says, it's like an ox licking, the salt, that big tongue of an ox. It's not that they're just licking up the people around them. They come out of Egypt, they're around us, and there's always been the battles that we saw in the last chapter, that indeed these people are someone to reckon with. And so that's the scene that we find Balaam coming upon the scene. What do you know about the story of Balaam? What comes to your mind when the story of Balaam? And I know it's a leading question, but the donkey. That's about it for some people. And what about that donkey? Was he kin to Mr. Ed? And it's kind of interesting. You see, I know God makes us and we can have a sense of humor. It seems like he kind of does this with him, because what's going to come out of the mouth of Balaam when he says, I can't, God puts in my mouth the word that I've got to speak. And you're going to see him talking back to the donkey, don't you? There doesn't seem to be any problem there. And he's speaking a language that Balaam understands, that he talks to the donkey. But that's probably on his mind, and God can use donkeys, and I can use you, Balaam. And he's very angry with Balaam, and we're going to try to sift that out to see, well, why, God, did you tell them to go with the people, and then you're mad at him going? And that's why we have the donkey incident. Why? And then we notice that when we get to chapter 25, we won't do that today, but in our next class, you'll probably get into that, is that you'll see how Balaam coincides with what we see in the New Testament. That Balaam's heart was a day for riches. He says, I'm not. For riches. And that's how does he get the people cursed? They go into doing the same things the Moabites do in Moab. The daughters of Moab. All of the pagan idolatry stuff that takes place. And that's why God can curse them. But right now, they're God's people. So there's the events that we're talking about. So what did Balak, is our first question, what did Balak want to accomplish through Balaam as we come into chapter 22? Well, to curse them. And to curse them because they'll just be obliterated, or curse them so I can fight them and win. Which is it? He's going to do the fighting. He's going to drive them out with his people. So in verse 6 we say, come now therefore, pray thee, curse me this people. Here's why. For they are too mighty for me. Peradventure I shall prevail. I want to prevail, that we may smite them, and that indeed I may drive them out of the land. For I know that thou whom thou blessest is blessed, and whom thou cursest is cursed. So to drive them out of the land, I'll do that. We will do that. but he wants the curse to be there. You know, they served the god Chemosh, and he's going to be offering up sacrifices, and we've got to make our mind, is he offering that to Chemosh or is he offering that to Jehovah? Because he wants Jehovah to be cursing the people. And here's a reputation that Balaam has as being of Jehovah, and blessing the blessed and cursed they are cursed. And so we see that taking place. And he, as we see, is scared. Verse 4, the point I made a while ago, and Moab said unto the elders of Midian, and he said, well, here they're on the scene too. He said, now will this multitude lick up all that is round about as the ox licketh up the grass, I said salt, grass of the field. And he'd just be conquering it all. The Midianites are traveling here and there. They're coming up on the scene with Moab, and they're sell goods into Egypt. That's how they traveled. That's how they took Joseph in there. And so they're on the scene, and it seems to me, and you may be able to correct my thinking, is that when they are all together with Balaam, and Balaam says, well, I want you to stay with me the night, it seemed like the Midianites went on. Only the elders at Moab we find taking place. They're the ones that are interested. Midianites kind of interested going here and there. That's kind of the picture. It's a picture I have. But the question is, where is Balaam? He's got to send for Balaam. Where is he on this occasion? What does the Bible say? Where did he come from? Look at verse 5. He sent messengers unto Balaam, the son of Beor, to what town? Pethor. Where is it located? A what? Where is it located? Euphrates River. Excuse me if you said that, I didn't hear it. The idea of the Euphrates River. It just says by the river. Why do you say the Euphrates? Because that's the river. It's not the Jordan. It's the river. And just look what a journey that is. Because it is a journey that's taking place. Here they are around Jericho, ushering in, Moses is going to be looking on Mount Pisgah and so forth, of when he's not able to enter in. They're in the land of Moab, which is by that area north of the Dead Sea. But the Euphrates way up here. I look at things all the way to the northern part of Moab. You see the trip here all the way to Pethor, which is just south of Carchemish, which is a great battle fought. That's on the Euphrates River. That's how bad that Balak wanted Balaam. But he sent his messengers to there. So that's why you have a problem of, well, he's coming journeying here, and they're journeying there. That's a pretty long journey. And it tells you the reputation. God had used Balaam, and he's a prophet of God, and he's conversing with Balaam. Balaam understands that indeed he is under the power of Jehovah. And that reputation was far and wide to me. What I'm looking at here being that where he's sitting for him. He could have had divination. In fact, first of all, the messengers send, what do they go get Balaam with? Rewards of divination. That's what they bring. They say, oh, no, I wouldn't touch that. But that's what it started with. That's what they're coming with. But that's where they go get him. And they bring him back. And we begin to realize why that occurs. Any questions on where that might be located? You got Moab right here at Ar, and that's kind of where Arnon River is right there on the upper border of Moab, and that's where we know Heshbon with the Amorites and so forth are there. So there's that picture we have of that. So notice in question number 7, why does God not allow Balaam to curse Israel? They're blessed. And that's why it's going to be important when God can't bless them any longer. What is the cause? See, it's not magic. It's not, I'm here, there, about it. There's a reason. He's a holy God. They haven't done anything to be cursed. My people are blessed, but he will quickly bring punishment upon his people, and Balaam gets his way, Balak gets his way, and Balaam gets his rewards. Because he was covetous. Because now I've got, from God's perspective, I've got a reason for cursing my people. He doesn't do it just because he wants to. He's a holy God. And we need to recognize that. In all of our studies of the Bible, we're looking at the Sermon on the Mount and the things that Jesus promises. You've got to be leery of hellfire. Jesus talks about hell. He wants people to know that. Why? Jesus, you didn't come to judge. You came to save. Save for what? Sin. Why is that a problem? Because God's holy. Sin separates us from God. And God wanted his people to be saved. And so there's a sense of we can understand God. He's not capricious. Well, one thing he does this, and he has his motives that are not very sound. He's all about himself. That's God. I think our world today disagrees with that. It's all about God. Yes, it is. And from our perspective, why? He created us, didn't he? Let's just step a step back further. He created the habitat. He created the earth and where people can live. That's a pretty good God, isn't it? You're breathing. We're able to function. Our bodies are marvelously made, wondrously made. The stars around us, people are traveling to different places, and the universe just keeps on expanding. You're never going to find God traveling in a spaceship. Even 6 women can't find it. And that's going to be that's where we're heading. That's what we want to do as mankind. He's above all of that, and he is a God. And what is amazing to me, God is a consuming fire. God is wrath. We're going to experience the wrath on the day of judgment. But what is that same God? He's merciful. He's loving. He's full of grace. And he sent his son to die for us, raised him from the dead, so he could indeed give us the hope of heaven. And we see the whole plan in the realms of eternity. We see all that coming about. That's God. And then to say, well, God is kind of small because he told him he told him to go, and then he punishes him for going. What kind of God is that? Well, we're going to see how God uses what is wrong with people in order to exalt himself, and use Balaam and maybe teach Balaam. I think Balaam gets that too. That's why I'm thinking he just speaks about whatever comes out of God's mouth, I do. I've learned that from the donkey. He could say that. He didn't, but he could have said that. So why does God not allow Balaam to curse Israel? Because they're not deserving to be cursed right now. He's had issues with them. Moses had prayed for them. He saved them. There for another day. But there's the point. Now let's get down to this. Why was God angry with Balaam? When Balaam went with the princes of Moab, when God gave him permission to go. So let's pick up the fact that he's not giving him permission to go. And we let's see if I can pick it up without going a lot more detail. Balaam, so he says, stay tonight, you lodge with me tonight, and the Moabites seem to be there and the others leave, because they're not mentioned anymore here. But Balaam rose up in the morning and said unto the princes of Balak, get you into your land, for Jehovah refuses to let me go, or to let me leave to go with you. And the princes of Moab rose up, and they went unto Balak. Why didn't the Midianites go? I don't think they're there at the time. They left town. They got them to be Pithor, and that's it. And they went into Balak and said, Balaam refuses to come with us. So far, he's doing exactly what God said do. But what does Balak do now? What is it? Man, I'll just send him some of my men that are more honorable. Maybe that's the problem. You didn't get high enough on the on the list here of who's more honorable than those. I'll just raise that up a little bit. And Balak sent princes more and more honorable. More and more honorable. I'll send my vice president maybe. Says Secretary of State in our thinking. And he says, more honorable than they. And they came to Balaam and said, thus saith Balak to the son of Zippor, let nothing, I pray thee, hinder thee from coming unto me. For what does man do? Well, we need to add another perk to this thing. We need to add some, money, riches, honor, power. Maybe all of those are connected here. I will promote thee unto very great honor. There's number one. And whatsoever thou sayest unto me, I will do. That's pretty powerful, isn't it? And come therefore, I pray thee, and curse curse me this people. And Balaam answered, said unto the servants of Balak, if Balak would give me his house full of what? Where's his heart? I'll get more. I have more honor. Here's men of more honor. They're coming, and it's more honor and power that I will have. If you give me a house full of silver and gold, I cannot go beyond the word of Jehovah my God to do less or more. And that's exactly what a prophet was to do. Now you could say, you could be quiet and be a sleeping dog, and God doesn't like prophets like that. But that's what he says. Now therefore I pray you tarry here also this night, that I may know what Jehovah will speak unto me more. Now there's the step. Well, does he really want to go? Peter says so. The New Testament looks back on this, inspired, Holy Spirit inspired them to write what they wrote. But I think he still wants that. But say, I'll go to Dad and Mama, and they told me no, but I think I'll try again, see if they'll let me go to the park, whatever. And we understand that. And I will speak to me more. And God came to Balaam at night and said to him, if these men are come to call thee, rise up and go with them. Just one time, Balaam is indicating by his actions, not a capricious God, but by his actions, that his heart's not on board with my thinking regarding my people. He's got a covetous heart. And he says, when they call you, rise up and go with them, but only the word which I speak unto thee, thou shalt do. So that's what he's supposed to do anyway. And what happens is that it's going to, they're a total 3 times, they're going to come back to him, and Balaam wants to have him cursed. So when you're doing all that, is that all the time is that whatever God says, that's what I've got to do. And what comes in between that? The donkey incident. And what about the donkey? God speaks through the mouth of a donkey. That wasn't magical stuff. That wasn't Mr. Ed stuff. But he speaks there, and he talks back to the donkey, realizing here's God speaking to him. So we asked, why was God angry? And you can't avoid it. Verse 21, Balaam rose up in the morning, saddled his ass, and went with the princes of Moab. And God's anger was kindled because he went with him. And that's what we began to see. So he's angry, but there's been an indication. God knows our hearts. Why would you come to me another time to try to get a different answer? Why it would be a different answer? There's no reason for me to curse the people. You know that, Balaam. You said it. And that's exactly what. God doesn't change that way. But he's angry, but he uses that. Now, doesn't God, in Romans 2, doesn't he let a whole society go the way they want to and reap the repercussions and consequences? We'll create God in our own image, so to speak. And you'll go off into all the sexual sins, homosexuality, things that we experience today because we don't have God in our knowledge. We would think maybe he made me that way. We'll determine who God is and what he says. And that's why we got to be entrenched in the Word of God and not follow those types of things or give ear to that without standing up for God in ways that we can. But that's not going to change. But here is his anger, and this is how he deals with it. And it's going to be instructive. And so how does God help Balaam see the divine displeasure? And that's what we pick out our Vacation Bible School for the kids. It's a great story. But let's get the background of that story, which makes it very, very important. So verse 21. When he saw that God's anger was kindled against him, and then we get to verse, I'll just read that. And the angel of Jehovah placed himself. Do you see, when we read this story, I'm just kind of getting the talking points here to get our thinking. When you take those verses together, do you see the place getting narrower with the donkey? Donkey can see the angel, right? The angel is standing there. At first, he's just standing in the way. And then he's got the two walls and barely get by. And it's so narrow, the donkey crushes his foot against the wall. And then he gets to a place, as he, out there, there's no place to get around him. And what does the donkey do? He lies down. I can't go anywhere. So it's getting narrower and narrower. And Balaam's getting very angry about it with his donkey. And the donkey sees the angel with his sword. It's danger. And Balaam should be happy. He was protected, but he's not. And until he finds out what's taking place. So see if that's not the case here. And he saw the angel standing in the way with his sword drawn in his hand, and the donkey turned aside out of the way and went into the field. And Balaam smote the donkey to turn her unto the way. So in the field, now we get into the vineyards and so forth. It gets narrower. Then the angel of Jehovah stood in a narrow path now. Just the way, now a narrow path between the vineyards. This is my land, this is your land, and so forth. And a wall being on this side and a wall on that side. And the donkey saw the angel Jehovah, and she thrust herself into the wall and crushed Balaam's foot against the wall. And what did he do? He smote her again. And the angel Jehovah went further and stood in a narrow place. So it was a narrow path. It's a narrow place where there was no way to turn, either to the right hand or to the left. And the ass saw the angel Jehovah, and she lay down under Balaam. No place to go. It's that narrow. And he smote the ass, or the donkey, with his staff. And that's when Jehovah does what? What does the Lord do? He opened the mouth of the donkey, and it's a girl donkey. And it says, and she said unto Balaam, what have I done unto thee, that thou hast smitten me these 3 times? Is there any untruth to that? Is there any, well, if you were a donkey and you could think and talk in terms like that, would that be what you say? I only hit you once. Really? We can count that. Donkey fell every time. You hit me 3 times. And what have I done unto thee? You've ridden me all your life. I've never treated you this way. And so instead of thinking, what was the cause of this? Maybe she's sick today. I'm going to beat her. He's mad. And when you hit your finger driving a nail, do you get mad? It hurts, doesn't it? What happened to him? There's that wall, and this donkey just hit that wall. I hit her again. I hit her. And there's that anger. And then what does God allow Balaam to see when all this happened. So there's the first speech out of the mouth of the donkey. And Balaam said unto the donkey, because thou hast mocked me, I would that there would be a sword in my hand, for now I had killed thee. And the donkey said to Balaam, am not I thy donkey upon which thou hast ridden all thy life? All thy life long unto this day? I was ever wont to do so unto thee. Was I ever wont to do so unto thee? And he said, no. Then what does Jehovah do? He steps in, proper time, to get his message across. He's in control, how things are going to unfold to his glory. And Jehovah opened the eyes of Balaam and saw the angel of Jehovah standing in the way with his sword drawn in his hand, and he bowed his head and he fell on his face. He didn't say, what's this mean? What's all this? There's the humbling heart that's been humbled, not because he's gone through so much difficulty to do the will of the Lord. No, he said, come back another day. Come back the next day. We'll see if God really wants this to happen. And all those things. But he now is realizing that his eyes are open. He sees what was before them. He should have been happy that the donkey wouldn't go further and transgress the way of the angel of Jehovah. So there's this angel of Jehovah with a sword. And a lot of times the plagues would come with that messenger of God coming in this time. And there's where he says, I am come forth for, wherefore hast thou smitten the donkey these 3 times? That's what the angel of Jehovah said to him. And I am come forth for an adversary, because the way is perverse, for thy way is perverse before me. It's not what I wanted, representing God. It's perverse before me. And the donkey saw me and turned aside before me these 3 times. Unless she had turned aside from me, surely now I had even slain thee and saved her alive. What did Balaam want to do to that donkey? If I had a sword, what would I do? I'd kill you. And God said, I kill you. The angel said, we kill you. You ought to be thankful for your donkey. And Balaam said unto the angel Jehovah, I have sinned. Now there's a point of confession, admitting that. David was slow to get there, wasn't he? He didn't say he sinned. What did he do? Well, I'll try this and I'll try that. And then all of a sudden, I've sinned. But here he seems to immediately understand that, and that's a good thing about him. I have sinned, for I knew not that thou stoodest in the way against me. Now therefore, if it did please thee, I will get thee back again. Well, that's what you want to do in the first place. That's what the Lord said. That doesn't happen, because we're going to be able to do some preaching. We're going to be able to do some non-cursing of the people in the ears of Balak, who wants them cursed. I'll have my way with him now. And it says, and I will get me back. And the angel Jehovah said unto Balaam, go with the men, but only the word that I shall speak unto thee thou shalt speak. And so Balaam went with the princes of Balak. Now, God works in mysterious ways and so forth, but how would you react that day? Would you have been quick to say, I've sinned? Hopefully. And maybe why you're there is that you know you were wanting the rewards really, and he won't change that either. He gets them. That's why we have chapter 25. But he uses a donkey. Why didn't he use an ostrich or something? Why didn't he use a donkey? Why don't he use a horse? We think of donkeys as dumb, and they're beasts of burden. Not really great of all God's creatures. And he uses them. He's riding on that donkey. He uses him to speak the message of God. You should be honored that I'm speaking through you. But I can use a donkey to get my point across. I created them. And you treated your donkey wrong. And the donkey's talking back about that. And the angel Jehovah is speaking about that. But I think there's a sense of the type of animal that is. Indeed, he speaks the wisdom of God to him. And of course, the angel of Jehovah is representing his authority. So that's how God helps him see his divine pleasure. You're in a perverse way. Daddy wants you to come here, but now we're going. And God, we're going to see what any of that ever change.
Gary, this ties in with question 8 because it shows a little more context of why God was angry, because at this point where he realized he had sinned, he knows that what he had done was against what God had asked. Otherwise he wouldn't have sinned. But God was angry. There was something there. There's kind of a symbolism here as well, because we see this road that the angel's on seems to be the road that they'd taken to curse Israel. When the king first says, hey, I'm cursing people, he says, I'm not going anywhere near that. I know God will let me. The second time, he tries to get around it, but he doesn't completely. But now he's bent on going through. That donkey knew, I'm not doing this. I'm not going to go through God. I'm stopping it.
Yeah.
And so at that point, maybe Balaam sees his own life, what he was doing with God, and saying that I'm going to do it anyways. And God's going to punish him if he does. You realize, okay, I messed up. I knew I shouldn't have done it, but I did it anyways. Finally gets to that point that God was trying to do.
Well, and like you said, if he would have been killed if he went transgressed away. I mean, the angel of Jehovah tells him that. So that'd be not just the idea of fear would be the thing. But you're right about the point that you're making about that. But I just thinking how it had been on his epitaph. My donkey was smarter than me, or smarter than I was smart. That'd be foolish, wouldn't it? So he's in a place where he's got to go. His heart hadn't changed but he sinned, and he knew right now this is no win for me. I'm going to do what God says do. And that's exactly what happens. So now we pick up question number 10. How does Balaam respond to Balaam's first two attempts to curse Israel through Balaam? So verse 35, Balak heard that Balaam was come, and he went out to meet him, the city of Moab, which is on the border of the Arnon. We're in that region on the previous map, which is the utmost part of the border. That's the highest part of the border. That's true. Bible is accurate geographically. And Balak said unto Balaam, did I not earnestly send unto thee to call thee? Earnestly I sent even higher ranks to get you to come forth, and I'm going to give you honor and power. Wherefore comest thou not unto me? Am I not able indeed to promote thee to honor? And Balaam said unto Balak, lo, I am come unto thee. Have I now any power at all to speak anything? I've learned my lesson from a donkey. Do I have power to speak anything? The word that God putteth in my mouth, that shall I speak. God opened the mouth of a donkey and put in his words. And he said, that's all I can do. And Balaam went with Balak, and they came to Kiriath Huroth. That's kind of near Ar, as what I could see we had on our map in that region. And Balak sacrificed oxen and sheep and sent to Balaam and to the princes that were with him. Oxen and sheep. Was he doing that to Chemosh? Don't know. Was he doing that to the Lord? Might have been wise to do. You know, gods are gods. And this is his God, and I want those people cursed. And so why would he not honor Jehovah? But we're left to think that out ourselves and don't know. And it came to pass in the morning that Balak took Balaam and brought him up in the high places of Baal. And he saw from thence the utmost part of the people. So here's the utmost part of the people. And Balaam said to Balak, build me here 7 altars, and prepare me here 7 bullocks and 7 rams. And Balak did as he had spoken. And so in verse 3, Balaam said to Balak, stand by the burnt offering, and I will go. Peradventure Jehovah will come to meet me, and whatsoever he showeth me, I will tell thee. And he went to a bare height, and God met Balaam and said to him, I have prepared the 7 altars. I have offered up a bullock and a ram on every altar. Balak's done his thing. I've done my thing, honoring you, Jehovah. And Jehovah put a word in Balaam's mouth and said, return to Balak, and thus shalt thou speak. He can only speak. He uses a donkey, he uses Balaam now. And this is what he said. He returned to him, and lo, he was standing by his burnt offering, and with all the princes of Moab, and he took up this parable and said. So here's that moment. I'm sure he was interested. This is what he said. From Aram and Belek brought me, the king of Moab, from the mountains unto the east. Curse me, Jacob, and come defy Israel. That's what he wants him to say. And he starts it off. How shall I curse whom God hath not cursed? And how shall I defy whom Jehovah hath not defied? And from the top of the rocks I see him, and from the hills I behold him. Lo, it is a people that dwelleth alone. There's a single people of God. Thank you. And shall not be reckoned among the nations. And it said, who can count the dust of Jacob, or number the fourth part of Israel? Let me die the death of the righteous, and let my last be like his. Die the death of the righteous. Those are words of God in the mouth of Balaam. But the point is that maybe that's, if he wanted to do the best as far as God, that would be what he would say. Let me die the death of the righteous. We're studying in our Sermon on the Mount the idea of righteousness. Don't do your righteousness to be seen of men. Your righteousness must exceed that of the Sadducees and the Pharisees, the scribes and the Pharisees. And righteousness becomes a very important. Are you right with God? We sing. Are you right with God this morning? Are we living a righteous life? Is the world around us righteous living? Are they living righteous lives? Our world around us never has. The world has not done it, but this sets us apart from God. And so I want to die not being honored by men, not being rich, not having glory of men, but if I am right with God, that's the most important thing in my life. And that'll affect how you live, how you think, what you do, what you say. And to me, it's a key point. God, I'm right with you today. I want to be right with you. And is it how you finish is going to be important in our lives? A lot of us have lived a long time. And what happens if, well, I just get a little lax and I won't try to be walking a straight and narrow path. What hope do I have of heaven after that from Scripture? Or you? Preached for 50 years. And at the end, I don't die the death of a righteous. And that's what give me my hope. Does he look back all the good that I might have done? Or does he see me like I am? And you read Ezekiel closely, you'll find out he doesn't sit there and say, well, you did more wonderful things here, and I think I'll let you in. It's how we die. And I think about Moses, though, and you realize, well, at the last he messed up, but is he going to be lost? I hate to think that. But from what scriptures that we see in our living before God, I finished the course. I kept the faith. Henceforth there's laid for me the crown of righteousness. And we want to do exactly what God says that makes us right before him. And we don't die that way. I don't want to die being one that left the Lord. I don't want to die that way. Neither do you, nor would we want anybody to do that. But I want to die the death of the righteous. And Balak said to Balaam, what hast thou done to me? I told you to curse mine enemies, and behold, thou hast blessed them altogether. And he said, must I not heed and speak that which Jehovah putteth in my mouth? He got that. I'm sure he's still thinking of donkey. He used him. And Balak said unto him, come, I pray thee, unto another place. Here's going to be the third time. When thou seest them thou shalt see but the utmost part of them, and shall not see them all. You're just going to see a portion of them now. I want some part of them to be cursed. And he took him into the field of Zophim at the top of Pisgah. It's going to be a place where Moses is going to look and not able to enter. And built 7 altars and offered up a bullock and a ram on every altar. And he said to Balak, stand here by the burnt offering, and I will meet Jehovah yonder. And Jehovah met Balaam, and he put a word in his mouth and said, return to Balak, and thus shalt thou speak. So God said, I want you to go talk to him again. So he doesn't want you to go in the first place. That's on you, and he'll find a way to curse the people before it's over. So Balaam is not out of the door, but he's speaking truth. That's all he can do. He came to him, and lo, he was standing by the burnt offering, and the princes of Moab. And Balak said unto him, what hath Jehovah spoken? And he took up the parable and said, rise up, Balak, and hear. Hearken unto me, thou son of Zippor. God is not a man that he should lie, neither the son of man that he should repent. I'm not saying I'm sorry or anything like that. Hath he said and will not do it? Or hath he spoken and will he not make it good? Behold, I have received commandment to bless, and he hath blessed, and I cannot reverse it. He hath not beheld iniquity in Jacob, neither hath he seen perverseness in Israel. He's seen that before, but here's this present stance. Moses prayed for them. God's forgiven. He said, Jehovah his God is with him, and the shout of a king is among them. God bringeth them forth out of Egypt, and as it is, as the strength of a wild ox. And surely and I'm sure that didn't go by wild ox. He's kind of licking up the grass with his thick tongue. Yeah, he can agree with that. The strength of a wild ox. Surely there is no enchantment with Jacob. Thank you. I'm not practicing divination. That's what you brought my servant to begin with when he came. Surely there is no enchantment with Jacob, neither is there any divination with Israel. Now shall he be said of Jacob and of Israel, what hath God wrought? Behold, the people riseth up as a lioness, as a lion doth lift himself up, and shall not lie down with the eat of the prey, and drink the blood of the slain. And Balak said unto Balaam, neither curse them at all, nor bless them at all. I'm through. No cursing, no blessing. Because he's being, in a roundabout way, he's blessing the people above Balak, or at his expense. And so what do you do? I don't want to hear either side, okay? I'm done. And we'll have to stop there. And the class will begin there, and you have lesson 6 there if you need to finish that up. Any questions? We got about 3 left on that for next week. Any questions or comments you want to add to it? Again, sum it up or anything like that? Okay. Thank you very much.